Let's see here. We started with the network layer in the last class, and we have seen two types of packet switching network. One is the connectionless, which we call it as a datagram packet switch network. Okay, so wherein which the data packets can come anyhow. Okay, but when they reach here, it is not expected to reach in the same order how it is sent. Okay, so you can see here it is out of order. And in the network also, there are so many connecting devices which are nothing but the routers, and the packets can take any one of these paths. Okay, so which is decided by actually the routing algorithm. So this we have seen in the last class. And the other type of packet switch network is the virtual circuit packet switch network, which is actually connection oriented. Okay, so here the before sending any packets, we have to make a virtual path here. Okay, so with this is called as virtual circuit. Okay, you can see here the blue color is the virtual circuit. So once the path is set up, okay, then all the packets coming from the sender will follow the same path. Okay, and they will reach the destination in the same order how they have sent from the sender. You can see that also. So this is a connection
Yes.
oriented packet switch network. Okay, so these two we have seen, and also we have seen the process, this forwarding process. Okay, how forwarding table will help the virtual circuit network. Okay, so what is that table? Forwarding table, which we also call it as a routing table, because this table will be present in the router. Each router will have its own forwarding table. According to the table only, the data packets will be moving from one incoming and outgoing ports will be decided. Okay, and labeling. See here for the virtual circuit network, not only source address and the destination address are required. It also required two more things. Which are these two more things? One is the called as label, which is also called as a flow label. Okay, flow label, and the other one is the ID, virtual circuit ID. Okay, so this is not shown here, virtual circuit ID, but once we create the virtual circuit path, so that time one ID will be given to that. Okay, and you can see here how forwarding table will be filled. So here four columns are there, two columns for the incoming packets, and two columns for the outgoing packets. And here you can see here this label is incoming label is L1. So this is updated in the table with the port 1 of the router. The packet, this is the packet actually. Okay, or we call it as a datagram also. So this data along with the source address and the destination address along with the label, it is going. Okay, so the incoming is from the port 1. Similarly, outgoing is port 2. But here the label is changed. The label is outgoing label L2. So here L2 is filled in the forwarding table. Okay. How actually this is filled? This process can be divided into three parts. Okay. The virtual circuit communication, virtual circuit network communication can be divided into three parts. First one is setup part. Second one is data flow or data transfer, and the third one is tear down. Tear down means once the communication is completed, then the source will send one message to destination. It can tear down the network which is already present. Okay, so initially the setup will be done with the two packets. One is called as the request packet. Okay, so this I explained A to B request packet is going. You can see here initially source will be sending this to destination, whether the virtual circuit path is ready, and destination B is also ready to receive. Okay, so to understand this process will takes place, it will first send a request packet. Okay, and whenever the packet is going, each virtual path, okay, from this system station to this station, router is also one of the station only. So this station, between these two there will be some label. Okay, so this label here, this is a 14. and in this case it is 66. Okay, R1 to R3 the labeling is 66, R3 to R4 the labeling is 22, and R4 to B final destination this label is done like 77. It is some notation they have used. Okay, so the same label should be filled along with the port, incoming port and outgoing port. Outgoing port is defined by the virtual circuit path, how it is actually uh, taken. Okay, so this is explained in the last class. Okay, once the packet is sent, then what will happen? Acknowledgement will come from B to A. Okay, destination to A, so that the path is ready for the data transfer. Okay, so this is the next step in the setup process. Okay, so there are three processes. First process is setup process. The second one is data transfer, and the third one is the tear down. Okay, so in the second one, in the first process setup only, there will be first transmission of the request packet and then acknowledgement. Okay, once this is the acknowledgement comes back, so all this flow table will be completely filled. You can see here 66 is the label of the router 1 and router 3. So this is also filled here. Okay, so this is done. Once the label is complete, now next flow of data will be happening. That is second one is data flow. You can see here datagram or the packet. Okay, so this is going. You can also observe here the labeling is done properly. That is taken from the flow table. Okay, so this flow table will help the datagram. Okay, so A and B is already defined in the packet. Then labeling is also defined. Now once everything is ready, now packet flow will happen. All the data packets will be sending from A to B. Now once the packet flow is completed, then source A will send one message to B that the entire packets, okay, is over now. Okay, so that means everything is completed. Now it can remove this virtual circuit, because this is a simple logical circuit which is actually made for the data transfer. Once this is done, we have to remove it. So this message will be sent from A to B. Immediately B will tear down the path. Okay, so all these flow diagram, whatever we have here, flow tables, all the data will be dropped. It will be made zero. Okay, so this is how the virtual circuit packet switching network communication happens. Okay, so till here we have seen in the last class, and we also started with the performance of the network layer is measured in terms of delay, throughput, and packet loss. Okay, and also one more issue is there, that is congestion control, which can also, if we are able to control the congestion, then it can improve the performance of the network layer. Okay, so delay, how many types of delays we have seen in the last class? Okay, so these delays in the network can be divided into 4 types. Okay, actually speaking, combination of this is also there, that is total delay. Okay, so total delay is nothing but addition of all this. I'll tell you about that also. So initially we have seen transmission delay, propagation delay, which was there in the data link layer also. Okay, and then we have here, especially for the network layer, processing delay and the queuing delay. Okay, so what is this processing delay and queuing delay? Whenever this um, data packet comes, okay, to the routers. Okay, so router and the destination. Okay, so what all process it will be doing. Okay, so the delay by these routers and the destination, we call it as a processing delay. And queuing delay is nothing but the delay of the routers. Okay, so whenever there is a congestion. Okay, so we have seen here in the first what is that datagram? Okay, here we have seen. Okay, the packets are going 4 and 3. Okay, so here it has to wait till 3 goes, then only 4 can go. So how much delay it has to wait? Okay, so that we call it as a queuing delay. And queuing delay can happen both incoming packets or outgoing packets also. Okay, so this is also it can happen. Is it clear about these delays? Then we have total delay also. Okay, so what is this total delay? Total delay is nothing but, if you want, you can just write down. It is n plus 1 times of all these three. Okay, but only for the queuing delay, it is n times of queuing delay. Why it is n times of queuing delay? All the three depends upon the routers as well as the link between the routers. All these first three. Is it clear? Okay. Can you able to hear me? First three delays depends upon the link also. So suppose I have in my network n number of routers. Okay. So in this example, how many I had? In this example, I had 5 routers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have n is equal to 5. So how many links it is possible? Always one greater than the router. So how many this it can have link one greater than the n. So n plus 1. So all these delays are multiplied by n plus 1, whereas this queuing delay depends only on the router, not on the link. So we'll write it as n times of queuing delay. Is it clear now? Okay. So what is the total delay? What is the total delay? N plus 1 times of, okay, sum of transmission delay, propagation delay and processing delay plus n times of queuing delay. Is it clear now? The delays in the network. Okay. So total there are 5 types. Okay. 4 types are mentioned here and one more is there which is called as total delay. And coming to the next performance parameter, which will define the performance of the network layer, we call it as a throughput. Okay. So throughput already we have seen in our data link layer also. Okay. So what is this? It is defined as, it is defined as the number of bits passing through the point in a second, which is actually the transmission rate of the data at that particular point. Okay. So in a, for example, if at all there are many routers, okay, in our example, router 1, router 2, router 3, it has to go, okay, and the link between these routers, okay, the transmission rate can differ because this is network layer will actually support different types of networks. Okay, so there are many chances that one link will have one transmission rate, the other link will have other transmission rate. You're getting my point? Okay, so then how we can determine the throughput of the whole path? Because the path is not a common thing. Okay, so from source to destination, there are several routers and several links. Okay, links is nothing but the connection between router 1, router to router. Okay, so this we call it as a, I'll show you. This is a transmission link. Okay, R1 to R2. Okay, so this is a transmission link. And this speed can be different. This speed can be different. If the in the same one network, if at all different rate of systems are connecting, then each can have a different transmission rate. That option is there in the network layer. Then it is very difficult to find out the throughput of the whole path. Okay, so we should know each transmission rate of the link. Okay, so I'll show you this example. See, this is an example where throughput 3 links are there. Okay, so from source to R1, transmission rate is 200 kilobits per second. This I call it as a link 1. Whereas link 2 is between R1 and R2. The speed is not same. Transmission rate is different here. So these two systems will support only 100 kilobits per second, whereas R2 on destination can support 150 kilobits per second. Okay, so what is the total? See here, you can see here the transmission rate is more. You can see this cylinder. Okay, cylinder, it is just to indicate. Okay, so more number of packets can go here because the cylinder looks little bigger. Okay, here also, okay, 150 kilobits per second means this is a little less, but this is more than this. But the problem with this is the middle link 2 has less transmission rate compared to these two. Okay, so how much it has? Only 100 kilobits per second. Then, so this is a simulation using pipes just to show what will happen if you have a different data rate in the different links. Okay, so this is an example. Then how do you find the throughput in a path with 3 links in a series? Like this, how do you find? Okay, so can you tell me what can be the transmission rate or the throughput of this network? Can you hear me? This is one more example. Okay, the path is very less now. The path data rate is very less. This is a bottleneck of this network. Okay, because maybe here 200 kilobits per second, here 150, but here it can support only 100 means all this will come here and wait here. Okay, so this will make congestion here. Okay, so in order to overcome, what they will do, instead of connecting here the lesser transmission rate, this one, okay, from router 1 to router 2, they can use a backbone. A backbone we usually will have a high transmission rate. Okay, so now transmission 1 and transmission 2 rate we know that is 200 kilo and 150 kilobits per second. So instead of this bottleneck, it is removed by using this backbone network, which is having a very high transmission rate compared to these two. Okay, so this is one other example. So one more example I'll show you. Okay, so here the main link has 600 kilobits per second. Okay, router. But you just see here the source as well as the destination. There are 3 links subdivided into 3 links. Okay, each is connected to one device. Okay, so in that case, what can be the main transmission rate of the link? Okay, even though this is supporting 600 kilobits per second, by the time it comes here, okay, so because it is divided into 3, so each link or each station at the destination can support only 200 kilobits per second. So 200, 200, 200, it becomes 600 kilobits per second. Okay, so like this, the throughput is a very important criteria which will define the network layer performance. Okay, so this performance is decided by the throughput. Is it clear now? Okay, so because the network layer can have different types of network and different speed, transmission rate, the links can have. Because of this, the throughput will be, okay, decided by the minimum. Okay, so it is not written here. Please write down how do you define the throughput of a network. Okay, so in this case 100 kilobits per second is the throughput because it is the minimum. If I have TR1, TR2, TR3, minimum of TR1, TR2, TR3 is given by the throughput. Please write down. Okay, what is throughput? Throughput is equal to minimum of TR1, TR2, TR3. Okay, up to how many links I have in a network, up to n number. Okay, so that many you can write down. In this example, Okay, in this example, we have here TR1, TR2, TR3. So throughput of this particular network is given by minimum of TR1, TR2, TR3. In this case, minimum of among these three, minimum is 100 kilobits per second. The throughput is defined for this particular network as 100 kilobits per second. Is it clear? Okay. If at all, if I am changing to high rate, okay, then also this having 200 kilobits per second, this is having 150 kilobits per second, is it not? So now the minimum, in this case also minimum, the transmission rate will become the throughput. So 150, that is TR2, 150 kilobits per second will be the throughput of this particular network, even though I have changed the data rate, the transmission rate of this particular part. Okay, so bottleneck is removed, but throughput is, of course, it is changed from 100 to 150 kilobits per second. Okay, so this is how the throughput is found. Okay, so the next one is the packet loss. Okay, so packet loss means actually in this network layer, we follow similar to our data link layer star or hub topology. Okay. So what will happen there? Actually, we will keep one buffer. Whenever the packets comes, that will be there in the buffer. And if at all, if it is required, if any packet acknowledgement has not come, we have to send it again. Okay. Then we can send it with this buffer. Okay. So here, if at all the buffer, whatever we are keeping, okay, if it is filled completely and still the packets are coming, then the packet loss will happen. It's clear now how the packet loss will happen. Actually, there will be a buffer to keep all the packets before sending, before transmitting. Okay, so this is once this buffer is filled, okay, then the packet will be overflow will happen. Okay, and this causes the packet loss. Okay, so this is another issue that severely affects the performance of the communication is the number of packets lost during transmission. Okay, so the number of packets losing will be more in case of connection less compared to connection oriented. It's clear? And this effect of the packet loss on the internet network layer, that means network layer, is that the packet needs to be resent, which in turn may create overflow and cause more packet loss. And we have seen how actually duplicate packets also will be there in the network if at all. Okay, if we are sending, if we are not getting acknowledgement and if we are again and again sending the same packet, okay, so what will happen? Again overflow will happen and then actual packet will not be stored in the buffer. So that is how the packet loss will happen in the network layer. And these are the three things which will actually decide, okay, the performance. Along with that, what is that? Congestion control. Okay, congestion control is there, then the performance will be good. Okay, so number of packets are waiting in the queue are reduced. Okay, so there are different methods to reduce it. Okay, congestion control can be done, which is actually two types: open loop congestion control, closed loop congestion control. Okay, so with this actually the congestion can be controlled and then the performance of the network layer will improve. Okay, so there are no packets waiting means the network layer performance will be improved. Is it clear? Okay, so coming to the next topic, this is IPv4 addresses. Addressing mode is very important. Okay, so we have seen that addressing in the data link layer. What type of addressing we have used there? Physical address or the MAC address. Okay, so here we are using the IP address or the logical address. Okay, it's clear. And there the address was 48-bit and here the address will be 32-bit address. Okay, IPv4 IPv4 is the protocol of the network layer, which is nothing but Internet Protocol version 4. Okay, so we have Internet Protocol version 6 also. Okay, so IPv4 and IPv6, but we are not talking about IPv6 here. It is not mentioned in your syllabus, but this is IPv4. We will see it is very, very important protocol. And the ID used, identifier used in the IP layer of the TCP/IP protocol to identify the connection of each device. Okay, so this is given by IP address, which is called as 32-bit address, that uniquely and universally defines the connection of a host or a router to the internet. So you know already this, your IP address is unique. Okay, so whenever anything happens, cyber crime, anything happens, they can make out with the IP address because it is unique in the whole world. Okay, so they can make out which system, okay, with the IP address they are actually operating. Okay, so this is very, very helpful. Okay, later also. And the IP address is the address of the connection, not the host or the router. Okay, so it is mainly for the connection, not for the router or the host. Okay, it can be sender or host or the destination host or the router. Okay, so it is actually address of the connection. It's clear? Okay. How actually the IPv4 address notation, okay, is done? You can see here. Okay, we have seen how the MAC addresses we will write 48-bit. You know, right? Okay, how we used to write hexadecimal notation. Okay, this is also here. Also, we can write hexadecimal notation. You can see here. This is hexadecimal notation. The other way of writing the IP address is dotted decimal. Okay. So here the same thing is written with dots, 3 dots you can see here. And these can be also written in terms of binary. Okay. So last 10 minutes time is there. You please, all of you, write down your USN and the name. Okay. In the chat so that I will store it for the attendance. And I have sent one Google sheet. Okay, all of you write whether you were present or not. Okay, on that particular day. Okay, please write down. This we are keeping as the proof later. We have to enter in the BIMS later. Okay, so please write on there. Your CR will actually share. Okay, please write down whether you are there or not. I have total count. And I have to compare with the chat because in the chat box it will not be there in the USN wise. Okay, I have to search and write. Instead, you only write it. I will just confirm. Is it clear, all of you? Okay, these are the 3 notations. We'll use it for the 32-bit address, that is IP address. Is it clear? Okay, and we have here 2 type of addressing. Okay, one is called classful, the other is called classless. So there are 2 types of addressing. Okay, so this is very, very important. This is common question they'll ask you in the exam. Classful addressing and classless addressing. Okay, so before going to that, I'll tell you actually how connection and network ID is divided from these 32 bits. 32 bits, we have n bits, and this n bits will be different for different classes. So it is not defined how many bits. So simply it is written n bits. Okay. So this n bits will act like a prefix. Okay. And the remaining bits, 32 minus n bits, act like a suffix. Okay. So total 32 bits are there. In that it is divided into 2 parts. One is prefix, the other one is suffix. Okay, prefix will actually define the network connection. Okay, the network, whereas suffix will define the connection to the node. Okay, so it is related to node and this is related to network. You please remember this. Okay, so this is the addressing. in the next class, I will continue with this addressing. That is two types. As I told you, we have two types of addressing. One is classful addressing. The other one is classless addressing. 5 minutes time is there. I will just tell you about our classful addressing. See this, the entire address space. Okay, so this whole address space is divided into 5 classes: A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, so this scheme is very, very important. It is called as classful addressing, and E is actually reserved. Okay, so now actually in the nowadays this E is used, but now we are interested in only A, B, C, and D. Okay, so class A address, class B address, class C address, and the class D address. Is clear? Okay, so what is the difference between these 5? Okay, you can just see here. This is entire address. Okay, is actually address space is divided into 5. Okay, so most of the, almost 50% of the addresses are class A, and then 25% among that is only B, and then C and D and E is very less, 6.25, because it is reserved for the future use. Okay, in 5G they are trying to use this class E. Okay, in the IPv6, not in IPv4. Okay, so this is the different types of address. You can just see here, class A, B, C, D, E. This table you should remember. Please remember this diagram, very, very important. It will indicate the differences between class A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, so here you just see here the prefix and the suffix. Okay. Prefix will indicate the network. Suffix indicates the node. Okay, related to node it is. So here prefix is small. Okay, so only 8 bits are there, and remaining among 32 bits. Okay, only first 8 bits are for prefix. Okay, remaining for suffix. Whereas in case of class B, first 16 bits are for prefix, and then next 16 bits are used for suffix. Okay, so like this, in the class C, very first 8 plus 8, 24. Okay, so bits are used. You can see here n is equal to 24. Okay, either it is 8 bits, 16 bits, or 24 bits. Okay, so this is the difference between class A, B, and C. So some more things we will discuss in the next class. Okay, so next week, Monday's class, we'll see actually